Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to another Insane Productivity with Mortgage Coach Mastermind event. We have been meeting up, aside from the holidays, 9 o'clock Pacific every Friday. This is a value-add program to support Darren Hardy's Insane Productivity program that we did with Mortgage Coach. Since we do have a number of new people that are part of this, I just want to set the stage with, understanding why we did this. Myself and Todd Bookspan, who are co-facilitating this session, we're doing it just to provide another layer of value around Darren's program. It's something that we're both passionate about. It's something that we think can help loan officers be more successful, close more loans, be better servants to the realtors and the families that they serve, and just be more productive. So, we're here to help you go through this program and get more out of it when you go through the program. And we're here to help you be more accountable to going through it. So you've got a place that, if you come here and you're on the call right now, be prepared for us to, ask you to participate. Right now, Todd and I are going to be asking you and going around the room, finding out where you're at in the program, what your biggest takeaway has been so far, and of course, what questions do you have of other mortgage peers that are going through the program, because we all share some common interest and challenges. I only have one discussion topic that I am bringing in, and I'm going to wait until probably this last third of the call. But I've had a lot of Mortgage Coach members innovating with a move-up analysis. I'll explain it more in the next third of the call, and then Danny Harani, one of the nation's top loan officers, is going to walk you through how he's bringing it to market. But I just think it's a very cool strategy. It can be very effective at helping realtors increase their move-up buyer business. So we'll talk about that in the second third. And with that said, I'll hand it off to my co-host, co-moderator, Mr. Todd Bookspan.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Super excited to be here and super excited to see a lot of new faces. And I love Dave gave me a sneak peek into what he's going to be talking about in the last third. So I think it's going to be pretty powerful, and I'm looking forward to hearing that. As far as Insane Productivity goes, it's been kind of a fun journey, right, Dave? I mean, we've had a good time with the crew that we've been doing this. I was trying to remember how many months it's been. Did we start this in August, or how long have we been doing this?
We've been doing it a long time. I mean, over 15 weeks plus holidays. So 4 or 5 months. It's been a long time.
So it's definitely been a journey of passion for Dave and I. We started off thinking we were just going to do it for a month or so, and here we are. And so keep in mind this is about you, and I think there's definitely always a potential when we say we're going to start calling on people that people get a little bit nervous. So don't be nervous. That's why Dave already softballed you the questions. I wanted to take 1 minute before we started, and are you okay with, Dave, if I just take 1 second and point out the trackers that we uploaded and talk about them for a minute?
Oh yeah, I think that's a big one. We had a lot of folks ask us where that tracker is. So for those of you that don't know what Todd's talking about tracker, we did a call between the holidays on our regular Tuesday call, the Mortgage Coach Tuesday call, and Todd talked about his team tracker. So yeah, I think everybody on the call would love that. And then again, this call is recorded, so feel free to share it with your team, and we'll get it out to anyone who misses the call. But try to keep that in mind, Todd, that not only will the people who are on the call hear it, but people who will listen to the recording will get it. So give us a full overview, please.
All right, that'll be good. So I'll take a couple minutes. I did a call on it yesterday, and then I've had some people reach out to me who missed the call and said, hey, did you record it? And of course, the answer was no, I wasn't that smart. And so I'll kind of give you guys a quick background on it. If you look at your screen, you can see I brought up the post I did in Facebook, which shows my tracker. It's from a busy week in the middle of 2015. That year, I took 400 applications in the first 3 quarters of the year, and then I said, okay, it's time to shift gears. I knew I was getting ready to look at coaching in the future, and so I started stepping out of production, and I still finished the year at about 450 applications that year. So it's a tool that I used, and it was created, in case you wonder, everyone always says, why does it say SAW tracker on there? Building Champions had a program that I helped develop that was called SAW Groups, and it was one coach with 10 participants, all within the same company, and it was really around tactics and accountability, and it was a fun program. I led 5 groups, so I read about 50 people through the program, and I had 3 other coaches at Building Champions that I was coaching who ran, hundreds of people from other companies through the program. And I couldn't even tell you what SAW stands for back then or now, but just assume it was something that was really cool. In the end, where I still see this used every day is that, although I'm not in the day-to-day production, of loans anymore. I still lead a team. I'm the quote-unquote the chairman of the team, and my team last year closed 550 loans for about $115 million in the Arizona market. And this is something that has been a kind of the heart and soul of our team, and I'll kind of walk you through how we use it and why. A lot of it's pretty self-explanatory, and I think if you page down in Facebook, you can see I uploaded the documents in there so you can download them and print them out yourself. And I think this is really key, and it ties into insane productivity, because regardless of where you are, at some point you're going to hit a piece where Darren talks about vital metrics, right? What is it that you're measuring day in and day out as a loan officer in doing your job? And what I found is that, of course, Darren's right, number one, but number two is it's just that accountability piece and understanding your rhythm and really understanding what activity is required for you to get the results you want. And so the activities tracker is just that, right? Those are the metrics, right? We're measuring those lead indicators, what it is that you need to do up front day in and day out. It just really starts with partner calls and client calls, and if you zoomed in on my thing, you can see that's just an X, right? You're just really marking it, who it is, or how many times you dialed the phone that day. Whether they answer the phone or not, that's just who you're calling. And again, separate it out between clients and partners, because ultimately you kind of want to see, do I need to call my partners more, or do I need to call clients more in order to get my results? And again, you're just checking that every time you pick up the phone and dial. The next section is quality conversations, and the funny part is, I realized yesterday when I was leading this group through there, if you actually look at mine, I actually photocopied 2 trackers, and I cut out the middle section, because at that point I was pushing to have way more conversations than the tracker allowed. And so I actually have 2 quality conversation sections that are in there. So this is actually a bigger form. It's a little custom modified. I actually shrunk it down and stuck it inside of my day planner with Scotch tape. But a quality conversation is just that. It's a conversation with a client where you feel like you've connected with them. Could be a lead, could be a client, could be a partner, and you kind of have to be the judge of what that's going to be for you, because in the end, this is all about you. But I would say if the person says, Todd, can you call me back later, maybe at 4 o'clock, probably not a quality conversation. But if I was calling a new lead to introduce myself, introduce my company, tell them what a great choice they made in their realtor, and then talk about getting their application, certainly a quality conversation. If I'm calling someone to give them a loan update and let them know when their appraisal's coming in or whatever that's going to be around their loan, that's going to be a quality conversation. And so you're going to track that. I would say that some of you are thinking, Todd, wait, I talk to a lot of my people via text. And so that was always a conversation that's ongoing. And I can tell you that my team voted last year that a text conversation that went back and forth numerous times with a client or referral partner was considered a conversation. And you can determine if that's the case for you. If it's just, hey, I sent you an email, that's probably not a conversation. But if, you're going back and forth and having a discussion about, oh, did the appraisal get ordered? Yeah, it got ordered. When's it coming in? Tomorrow. Anything else I can help you with? No, yes. Probably a quality conversation. Last but not least is live meetings. Again, that's just face-to-face, and it's not standing in front of 50 people and giving a presentation and saying, hey, that was 50 live meetings. It's, if you presented a realtor meeting, it was funny, when I was looking at this page yesterday, I can see that the first ones where I crammed them all in, I was at the Keller Williams office presenting, because the people that I have on there is the Keller Williams team lead. It's the 2 owners of the Keller Williams, where I've got their first names written down as the people that I had live meetings with that day. But really, it's whoever you interact with face-to-face, and again, depending where your business is coming, is going to really determine whether or not you have a large number of live meetings versus quality conversations. There's loan officers on my team who sit in real estate offices or sit in a builder office. They've got a lot of live meetings. I've got other members on my team who work with just one referral source, or literally just a big team that does Boomtown. They've got 20 agents on one, about a dozen agents on the other, and they just literally sit in an office all day, and they're just on the phone, with the catcher's mitt on, catching those leads and then making those outbound calls. And so they've got a lot more dials, they've got a lot more quality conversations than the folks in the office. One clarification that people always ask is, if you do have a live meeting, that is a live meeting, doesn't count also as a quality conversation. A quality conversation is just that's done with the phone. One thing I'll tell you guys is that on GoToMeeting, you can raise your hand. So if you guys want to raise your hand, if you have any questions as I'm going, I realize I'm flying fast, talking probably faster than I should, but I don't want to monopolize too much of this, but I wanted to take the opportunity to help you guys understand a tool that I see work really well with insane productivity. On the right side of that page is the results tracker, and it is the lead, some information on the lead, application, did they apply, yes or no, pre-qualification issued, yes or no, closed loan, yes or no. And again, you oftentimes hear about conversion rates. People typically track lead to close or lead to app and then app to close. We added in pre-qualification because, again, oftentimes one of your opportunities to improve your conversion rate is to get more of your pre-approved clients to close, more of your app clients who applied to actually fill out a pre-approval. And in our market, again, the people that are getting internet leads, they could be 33% bad credit, where our people in the builders' offices, they tend to get less than 10% bad credit. Arizona was kind of beat up. Some of you may be in markets that were beat up during the downturn and are still beat up with regards to credit. And so we found that was helpful because we were able to compare loan officer to loan officer, relationship to relationship, to sort of see what are those standards and what do they look like. And so really, when you boil that all down, you really have to be looking from cradle to grave on your activities, right? So literally, I think you starting with cradle, that's literally picking up the phone and dialing somebody. And then obviously a closed loan is the grave or the client for life piece after that, you could argue. But nonetheless, really, we're tracking through close and conversion rates. And the cool thing that happens on this, and this is sort of where the insane productivity ties in, is I can tell my entire team, because they've been tracking this since 2014, I can tell each member on the team, based on their business, based on what they do, exactly how many phone calls they need to make in a day in order to hit their goal in 2017. And it's totally different for each of them. We can also tell how many leads do they need in order to close the number of loans that they want. And we can check that from each stage. And so for us, it's been a kind of a fun activity on our team. I would encourage you guys to do it, because if you start tracking these things, and that's one of the areas where you can reach out to your peers and get feedback. I'm happy to give you feedback on what I've seen on it. But ultimately, in the end, these are the metrics that we found, and we've got again, a sample size of hundreds now that have been effective. Certainly, there could be something else that you want to track. At any given times, I think a couple of my pages on the top have on time, right? Jam sessions. How many of those was I having in a week? Sometimes it would say one-on-one coaching sessions with my team. And so, I just manually added other things that were important. So hopefully that 10-minute diversion that I just took is helpful to all of you. And by all means, this would be a perfect time for Dave or any of you to raise your hand. In fact, that is awesome. I see Edward's got his hand up. So yeah.
Hey, Todd, before we call on other people, I think, first of all, I think this is so important. I mean, this is a foundation to success. It aligns with everything Darren teaches. I mean, that to me is a cornerstone of why people are here. They're here to be insane productivity. Darren is the master coach on this, but we want to make it very relevant to a mortgage professional. So to me, this is important. If it takes you 5 minutes to talk about it, however long it takes, because I think the question I'm going to ask is equally important, and that is the accountability piece. So part of why you're measuring this is to help you. There's a personal accountability that takes place. There's an intentionality that takes place, but then from a manager's standpoint, there's accountability. So if you wouldn't mind just speaking to, and again, we could spend an hour on this, but speak to it from the manager's standpoint. Like if you're a manager and you've got a group of loan officers that are, doing this, how do you keep them accountable? And sometimes people, they mistake holding people accountable to being mean to them or, talking, beating people up. If you wouldn't mind just kind of going through some of the layers of accountability of how you hold a team accountable. And let's just say the team is 1 or 2 people. So, because a lot of the insane productivity loan officers have one assistant. Could you just give us some leadership on that? How coach us up on how to implement this strategy, but also coach us up on the accountability piece.
Absolutely. No, that's such a great question and a great direction to go. One thing I'll say is when I was coaching these 5 groups, when we were doing this as a full-fledged program, what was most interesting to me was who decided to opt in to the group. And we had originators, which I thought was going to be the key. I thought we would get originators who were solid originators looking kind of go to the next level. But what was interesting is we did get those folks. We also got the top originators in the company to join in. We also got producing branch managers that wanted to be part of the group, and we also got area and regional managers that wanted to be part of the group. And so it was actually pretty cool to see how different people used it for their benefit. Individual loan officer, certainly the obvious is to use it. A branch manager, the opportunity is to teach it to your team. Now, hopefully we've got a recording of this, even though I talked really fast, that you can use to teach it, or you can teach it yourself, right? And you got to lead by example. You've got to be filling it out yourself. You've got to be, doing this with them. And what I encouraged in those cases was the branch managers who were in, and I mixed up the groups. I had people in half a dozen states on there, and I purposely didn't put a branch manager with their own people in their group if I could avoid it, but there was a little bit of overlap in a couple of instances. But those branch managers then, I encouraged them to reach out to their team members. So to be part of the group, you had to turn in every week before the next call your tally sheet. So we were tracking everyone. We were holding them accountable as part of the program, and it was a 6-month program. And so for those 6 months, we held everyone accountable. But then the managers who were involved with it and the regional managers who were there, they actually held the people in their branch who were part of the group involved. And then a couple of them were ambitious and actually took the trackers to the rest of their group and taught it to them and then held them accountable for it. So it's really just a culture piece. Like, you want this to be the culture of you? Do you want this to be the culture of your team? Do you want this to be the culture of your branch? I can tell you how my team uses it. We've taken the accountability one step up from that. At 8:45 every day, my business partner leads what's called the jam session on our end, and we stole that from Darren. I don't know, maybe he did, maybe he didn't. And so at 8:45, everyone was on the call, and literally in alphabetical order, one by one, people unmute themselves, and they go through their numbers, right? So it's, I had 8 partner calls, 40 leading client calls, 15 quality conversations, and they walk through it all. They add in there how many contracts they got because they love doing that. But the cool thing about it that I've seen is that first people were like, oh my gosh, we got to do this again. Like they hadn't really necessarily bought in when we did it for the first few weeks. But what happened is there all of a sudden became this culture around it where people got excited around it. And you hear the other people go, woohoo, when someone says, I got 4 contracts yesterday, or I had 50 quality conversations. We've had some some epic times. There's been some contests around it with some pretty fancy prizes, based off of a formula. And so you kind of have to build this culture and make it fun. And then, the tail end of that call is always some coaching around something to the team. And, it's an opportunity for you to look at your business, look at your team, look at your branch, look at your region, and sort of decide how is it that I could implement this in a way that makes sense. And ironically, when I was in production and I was running these calls at the beginning of 2016, I said to the team, without asking anyone first, I said, guys, I feel bad. I feel like I'm tired of hearing myself talk. And I feel like maybe we should cut these calls down. Maybe we do them maybe Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or maybe we do them Tuesday, Thursday. And 100% of the people unmuted themselves all at once and said, no, every day I want the accountability. Every day I want to hear what other people are doing. And that was a huge surprise to me that, here I was thinking that this was sort of a requirement. People thought that they were being micromanaged, but in the end I realized it was the fabric of our team. We had grown this together as a group, and ultimately in the end, they're just digging it now. I mean, one guy had a calendar made this year. He's got to make 35 outbound calls a day in order to hit his goal this year, and he's got a calendar made that's got a 35 on it every day, and he just goes in and crosses it off the days that he does it. So that part's pretty cool. Is that helpful, Dave?
Yeah. So let's kind of just go through the playbook here. You've got a regular meeting. So there's kind of a weekly goal. There's daily. There's a daily meeting that holds group accountability. And the way you have conducted yourself as a leader in that group, people are excited about the meeting. Because I've heard people say that those meetings don't go well, and my guess is that usually it's because of the leader, the way that they're doing it it's the leader's fault that it's not going well. I guess one last question before we move off of it is, how do you handle it? Like if one person is consistently not coming and achieving their goals, just give us a minute or two on call it the critical conversation. Call it constructive tension. Give us a feel for how to approach constructive tension if someone's not playing ball, or they're not following through with their goals. give us just a feel for that, Todd, and then we'll move on and do Q&A.
Yeah, perfect. No, I think that's a great question, and I think people approach that differently. For us, we made it mandatory, and there was people who missed it, and I had to essentially, I guess for lack of a better word, I kind of had to lecture people, right? You know what? Don't make your outbound calls at 8:40 when you got to be on a call at 8:45. And so, I always had to see what the why was behind it, right? We talk about why on this group all the time, and I just want to see what the resistance was. And people at first were nervous. Well, my numbers aren't as good, and then I had to say, well, you know what? You're not dealing with internet leads. You're in a real estate office. People had to kind of get comfortable with what their position was in their location. So first, I found out what the why was, and then I also had to remind people that it's not just about you, right? We've got a team of people who are all trying to learn from each other, and if you're struggling with a script, if you're struggling with a client situation, be there, because you're sharing your pain is what's going to help. It was always funny because I'm never one who throws somebody under the bus, and I use that all the time as examples to say, okay, hey, here's where a deal got sticky, and here's why. And here's how maybe to avoid it, or here's a situation that was going bad and someone did well. But it was funny because the loan officers always raised their hand and threw themselves under the bus. Like they'd be like, oh, that was me, and I never wanted to throw someone out there, but then they would say, oh, that was me, and then they would give their side of it. So we turned it into a great way to mastermind. And so I think if you are if you're a leader and you're struggling to get your team to support this, I think you just have to bring them back to why don't they think it's important? And then also if you're there, remind them about how they can benefit everybody else, and they can learn themselves too. And then sometimes, again, it's a challenge when you're using this after the fact, right? Today, everyone on the team who's on our team has bought into it, right? It's part of the filter of the vision and the why when people join the team, right? Hey, by the way, we have this 8:45 call, and you need to be on it. And now the loan officer assistants are all on it, and they're tracking their calls as well. And that was partially their idea, and it was partially the team's idea. And if someone's not there, they want to know, why wasn't that person there? And typically in our team, we see that there's a group text that goes by, so I still see that where it says, hey, at the dentist with my kid this morning, right? Well, again, there's got to be reasons why you're not there, but everyone texts in their numbers. Their numbers are still in there, and they're still brought in on that. So I guess that was more than a minute, but hopefully that's helpful.
Yeah, no, it was great, Todd. So just what I pulled out of that and the notes that I took from listening to Todd, he's holding a meeting. He's making it about, he's being really graceful, making it very positive, getting people to share their activity. And then if someone's not playing the game, he's pulling them aside, and he's just going, why? And my guess is, just knowing Todd, the fact that he's so consistent in doing this, the fact that he's going to go why, they're eventually just going to do it, or they're going to self-select themselves and opt out of the team before Todd has to opt out of the team. So anyways, thought it was awesome, bro. Really appreciate that. So let's get into some other rhythms. I'll let you go around the room, call on whoever you think we should call on. Again, folks, be ready to tell where you're at in the program. If you want to share a success story, and make sure you also let us know if you have any questions.
Well, I luckily, thank you. I don't know if you go by Ed or Edward. I've got you unmuted. You raised your hand, which always makes my job and Dave's job a lot easier rather than picking on people. How are you today?
Doing fine, thanks. Just trying to kind of tie all this in together. The Facebook site that you have, I cannot find it. It doesn't come up at all, so I'm just curious how to get there so that I can see what you're seeing and kind of interact.
So, yeah, I will. It's Ed. We see your last name. We will try to get you added to that as we speak. So it's possible. I just friended you myself because I think we need to be friends in order for me to invite you to groups. But stay tuned, Ed. Thank you for the heads up, and we'll get you in there.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
So, Ed, how far are you in Insane Productivity so far?
This is the second week, and awesome. Just like the fire hose, just trying to do multiple things all at one time.
And what's been your biggest takeaway or aha so far?
It's distractions. What I thought I was doing that I thought was essential is not. And it's interesting to get clarification and actually see what you need to keep focused on. And that's what I'm trying to redirect a lot of my activities so that it's just focusing on the essential, that it attains your goal.
Awesome. It seems like since Dave and I have done so many of these calls, and I forgot to give my spoiler alert today. There's going to be some spoilers for those of you who are in 1 or 2 or new, where we refer to things like vital metrics, which aren't going to come up till later in the program. It's not really a spoiler. I would just tell people, it's good for you to hear other people talk about this stuff and don't feel like, oh my gosh, they're talking about Module 8 today and I'm only on Module 2. I promise you, actually, it'll help it sink in better when you get there. Any questions for the group, Ed, that would be helpful for us to answer?
Well, when it started off, when you were discussing the form that you were using to track and as a team, it just kind of, I can't see that and relate to what you were talking about. So it's just wondering if that's something that's available. I see you have it now as a download SAW activity tracker, but don't have access to it. Couldn't see it. It's kind of blurry.
So when you get into, and I apologize for that, probably it's my bad iPhone camera, but once Dave invites you to that group, you'll be able to see that, and there's two separate downloads in there. There's the activity tracker and the results tracker are separate downloads, and I would just encourage you guys, if you need to re-listen to that again, when Dave posts up this recording, you can do it, but you should be, once you're in the group, if you guys aren't members of the group yet, once you're in there, I'll wheel down here slowly, but you can go into the top right of the group, and you should be able just to search the group here for tracker, and my guess is it'll come up when we do that. So whoops, there's one of them, but I'll figure out how we can search it in there. I might need to add something to it to make sure that we can get there, but that's a great way to do it. And again, those of you who start using it, I'd love your feedback on it. This is the second version of it. Ironically, it stayed the same for all these years. We haven't gotten too many other suggestions other than my own personal splicing in more quality conversations. Again, the funny part about it is, I don't know how many of you can relate to this. My guess is 100% of you. Loan officers tend to be pretty competitive, and especially where my team thought that I wasn't. I had been out of production for a couple of years. They kind of felt like they could all roll over me, and so we'd had lots of competitive weeks where people were trying to outdo each other on calls and outdo each other on conversations. So that's kind of a fun part of it. But my guess is that within the hour or so, you'll be in here, and apologize that we didn't get you in there earlier. If anyone else here doesn't have membership yet to the secret group, that's why you couldn't find it online. It is secret. Let us know. Everyone should get at it as they get insane productivity, and every once in a while something slips through the cracks there.
Thank you.
You are welcome. All right. Thanks. We appreciate you jumping in. All right. I don't see any other hands, and when I don't see any other hands, that means I start calling on people. Does anyone else real quick want to raise their hand before I start doing this? And what I loved about that is, that's as a new member, right? We want new people to talk as well as existing people. Although I think I'm going to call him Lazar. You're a continuer, right? So I'm going to unmute you, Lazar. How are you doing today? Lazar, are you there? Going once. Going twice. All right. This is the risk I have when I unmute people unwarned. So that's okay. We're okay with it. How about you, Scott Morris? I'm going to unmute you and see how you're doing. Hey, Scott, how are you doing?
Doing great. How are you guys doing?
Doing awesome. Doing awesome. Yours is a familiar name. So where are you at in insane productivity?
I finished all the modules just before Christmas. Kind of took a couple weeks of blank mind time over Christmas to recalibrate and get my new team together and set some goals for 2017. So I love the program. What it's done for me, it's got me very focused on a few key goals, and also some of my vital metrics as far as prospecting a lot more and putting together some clear goals to establish. For me, my goal is to have 20 realtors who think of me first this year. I have probably 10 now, so I need to add to that. and then to have one realtor meeting per week, either with a realtor that's familiar with me or referred to me by another realtor.
I would say of my coaching clients, that sounds really in line with what most of my coaching clients have. Ironically, most of them seem to want to double the number of referring realtors this year. So what are you putting in place, or what are you doing differently this year in order to add 10 more, which is pretty significant?
Yeah, what I've put in place, one is I've put together a tracking system for all the realtors that I did loans or business with last year, which I'd never really tracked before. And so that's the first thing. I've got all that gathered. I know their production, which ones are productive, which ones are not. I clearly remember that I've made an effort the last 6 months to reach out to both listing and buyer and selling and listing agent and keep them apprised, communicate basically with them through the process so they remember when I call them 2 months later, hey, yeah, it's Scott Morrison, they remember me. Oh, yeah, you were the guy who kept calling me and called me first before I had to call you to find out what was going on and email your deadlines. And then I ask them for, hey, I'd love to buy lunch. You got to eat lunch someday and show you what we're doing here to make it easy and simple and help you build your business. And so that's I had 2 realtor meetings this week. I've got one set up for next week, and I'll have working on the week after that. My goal is to have 1 realtor meeting a week, a meaningful realtor meeting where it's either someone I've done a little business with and I want to get more business from them and show them what I want to do to help them grow their business, or it's a warm lead from a realtor partner that I know and knows me and someone that they would refer to me.
No, I love that. And so, that's just a strategy that we know is a tried and true strategy. And what I often find is loan officers fail to execute on it. And I think that that's such a easy opportunity. Most of us are scared of reaching out to an agent that we don't know. But, once you've got a contract with their name on it as a listing agent, they're dying for you to call them. How difficult is it for you to get somebody, once you've gone through the transaction successfully, who's been a listing agent, who obviously has another lender? How hard is it to get them to come to lunch with you?
I've had a couple, no problem, and I'm chasing a few, but I'm not giving up. You got, like you said, you got to get 7 no's before you get a yes. So I try to work it a different way, wherein maybe it's not just lunch. Maybe it's a beer or a cocktail in the area, or a glass of wine, or we got the Farmers Insurance Open next week, big huge golf tournament. I'm involved in that, so I'm like, hey, I'd love to have you come out and I give them a ticket for that, or you got to be creative at the end of the day and hit them where they're vulnerable, right, where there's something they like, and then, oh yeah, I do that, and then it's.
So what percentage say yes and what percentage say no?
I've had most of the people have said yes, unless they're out of town. And they may be BS me if they're out of town, but most of them said yes. And I've got already 6 or 7 people coming, so that's about all you can handle anyways. I don't want to have more than that in one day because then you can't get to everybody and make sure they're having a good time and spend that. When you get someone outside their office in a neutral area, neutral ground, then you can be productive with them. When they're in their office, it's hard to be productive. They're protective and defensive. They have their shields up, I call them. So I think you got to get them outside their work zone, to have a meaningful, like you said, a quality, meaningful conversation where they're going to listen to what I have to offer and what I bring to the table. 20 years of experience, kind of our approach as a team. Go through this process has also really defined what we want to do as a team and how I want to approach the business. It's knowledge, it's getting deals, getting the tough deals done, it's communication, it's keeping it simple for our clients and for all of our referral partners so they know what's going on. So we're really clear with our message of what we bring and what we deliver. And this whole program has really helped me dial that in as well. It's been great.
Oh, that is so awesome. So I love that. I really appreciate you saying hello when I unmuted you, and I think that's such a great message for the rest. I think that's the number one thing that most loan officers need to do is play offense this year. Go out and get new people. I remind people, don't forget to play defense, right? Remember that if you're in Scott's market, he's calling your realtor. So you got to be playing defense as well and making sure that you're connecting with your current agents, that you're taking them out for lunch or coffee or whatever that is, or at least just checking in and saying hello. So, you know, that's a huge opportunity. So thanks so much, Scott, and let's hear what Dave has to say.
Okay, so first of all, that was great feedback. And speaking of getting on the offense, I have been brainstorming with a number of the nation's, you know, top mortgage coach loan officers. We have a power users group, and Danny Harani, who has jumped on the call, he's got a super tight window. So rather than me kind of tee up the idea, Danny, I'm going to have you share your perspective on what you're doing with the move-up analysis to go big. After Danny shares his perspective, he's got to jump because he's in between realtor meetings. But Danny, why don't you share your thoughts, and then I'll close it out, and you can go ahead and jump off to your next meeting.
Awesome, Dave. I really, really appreciate it, and good morning, everybody. So Dave called me, I think it was late last week, and you know, just started to ask, or basically just bounce an idea out about this, basically responding to the biggest pain point that our realtor partners are having right now, which is that there's just no homes to sell. Listings are tight, and this is especially true in the San Diego market, and probably, you know, across the country. I'm hearing that pretty similar impact as far as listings go. And the idea, just to kind of give a quick overview, is that the homeowners that have been sticking around in their houses for 7, 8, 9 years, or even just 3, 4, 5 years, where they've accumulated a pretty significant amount of equity due to the double-digit run-up that was present over the recent past, that the very best thing that they can do for themselves from a net worth standpoint is take the accumulated equity that they've had and roll it into a new purchase, or at least roll part of that into a new purchase, and really move up and get into an additional, you know, get into whatever those lifestyle pressures they might have been feeling for that period of time. Essentially move up into a new place and take advantage of the fact that they've accumulated a ton of, you know, passive wealth in the equity accumulation. And what the TCA shows, and Dave's sharing the one that I posted yesterday, what the TCA shows is effectively that these families are missing out on a tremendous amount of net worth that they could be generating. And that's just the financial side of it. You know, that's kind of the hard numbers. That's the side of the cereal box where you see what all the you know, the actual numbers look like. But the real impactful thing here is like the front of the cereal box conversation, which is, hey, you know, you could be moving up. You know, your kids are jammed up in these bedrooms, and you know, maybe there's been other lifestyle changes. Your job moved, but you didn't. You decided to just make the commute. Didn't you know, move with it. There's all kinds of things that, from a lifestyle perspective. And just to give some context to that, I was doing some research for a realtor presentation, and one of the things I saw was that the average hold time, which for decades was about 6 years for families, has risen to as much as 10 years, meaning people are holding on to their houses for longer. And in that period of time, the lifestyle pressures that cause people to move have not changed. You know, people are still getting married, they're still getting divorced, they're still having kids, they're still retiring and needing to downsize. There's all these lifestyle pressures that are that typically motivate a move that haven't been doing so because of whatever the mental blocker is that these families have been feeling. And what we can do with these presentations for the families, I'll start with the families and then I'll back it up to really where it even gets more impactful. So starting with the families, there's really a huge amount of value that they can get from a lifestyle perspective from moving up. And then even beyond that massive intangible impact, there's this also net worth component, net of tax, net and tax from the potential savings they'll get from rolling their capital gains exemption and resetting their cost basis on the new house that they, you know, have an opportunity to then start accumulating new capital gain from the future home. And then also the income tax savings that would come with kind of expanding the leverage on the home. And so let's look at the, you know, potential impact on our business partners. So realtors, this is a no-brainer, right? This is a massive pain point for them. If they reach out to their database with this message, you know, families that I helped 6, 7, or even 3, 4 years ago, you might want to really consider opening your mind to selling and how powerful it could be from you from a financial standpoint, and then using that as really bait on the hook, that big dollar amount. In this case, it was, you know, over $100,000 does that big dollar amounts of bait on the hook that draws them into that lifestyle conversation, which is really where the realtor can shine. And then if you take it even a step further, you look at all of the influencers in these people's lives, like their financial planner and their CPA, and how powerful this message is even for those potential referral sources. With the CPA, this is the time of year where people are deciding who they're going to use to do their taxes, and sending out a quick email blast to their past CPA client database saying, would love to have these deeper conversations about wealth accumulation, and really adding value from a different perspective for those clients with our help could really drive a much better conversation with a CPA partner that either you have or you're looking to acquire. And then the other thing, and if you look at the with reinvestment, buying now with a reinvestment strategy where the client does not use 100% of their accumulated equity as down payment, and they take a larger loan amount and then bank that money or as investable assets, which is, imagine that conversation with a financial planner. We'd love to show your clients how they can move up, build wealth, and build an investable asset pool all at the same time, win-win-win. And this would just be a massively important message for them to share, because at its core level, it's absolutely the best thing for the client. Anybody that was resisting the urge to move is really doing so at their own expense. And I have about 3 minutes to answer any questions, if there are any.
Yeah, no problem, Danny. So guys, think about this. If you sent this to your database, you could create some move-up opportunities that you could refer to a realtor. And the big idea is to go to your agents and have them, create this with you together based off their clients, and take it to their clients. And then you could also go to an agent and say, hey, who are your 5 most likely to move up buyers? Let's get them a move-up analysis. Danny, real quick, 1 minute. What are your action items over the next 2 weeks with this? How are you guys going to play this over at the Gaylord Hanson team?
So it's already happening. So basically, I would describe us as fast implementers, right? When we see something that seems valuable, we get after it really fast and pretty hard. So I already have had 2 face-to-face meetings with realtors where shared this idea, and have the follow-up of creating that list of clients that they think would be good candidates for this. And that you brought up a super good point, Dave, which is we can the professional realtors, ones that have been in the business a long time, who have a database that this would really cater to, they have a good feeling just based on their own intuition who really should move, and especially those who they have maintained relationships with. They know who had kids or who got married, or what might be a lifestyle pressure that would kind of lead them to a move up decision. And so you can hyper focus the presentation to those, but then also and basically really tailor it to their current price, using property profile records, things like that, to learn kind of what the potential value there might be. And then so getting really deep with those, like you said, handful, 5 or 6 that the realtor might have, but then having it be more of a blast to the other ones, just to catch maybe those that we didn't know were in that market but should be. And then so we're definitely setting up those meetings, and then also going back through again, like that CPA, I think, is really the next tranche of referral partners that would really have a very strong impact on, and this is the sweet spot time for reaching out to them. In 3-4 weeks from now, you're never going to be able to get one on the phone because they're going to be too busy. But for the next week and a half, you'll be able to reach and connect with the CPAs and share this idea as they're pushing out their blast marketing to their past clients. So we're also working on building out a list of about 12 to 24 CPAs that we can reach.
Nice. Well, I want to be respectful, Danny. Thank you so much for jumping into this call. We're going to be bringing this strategy to the market big time because it's just so market relevant. Talk about insane productivity. You meet with an agent. You show them how to move up buyers in the market. Everybody wins. So I can't think of a better strategy to bring to the insane productivity group. Danny,
the realtors will sell themselves on this because they know listings is the biggest pain point. So if you're having your first conversation with an agent, they're going to tell you, hey, my biggest stress right now is that I don't have any houses to sell my buyers, or I'm looking for more listings, and this just, it's right there. So thank you so much for the idea, Dave. This is really, 100% you, and it's really going to make a difference. So thank you so much.
Yeah, well, by the way, it's not 100% me. I'm a microphone for a lot of great loan officers. So I've heard the idea by others, and now I'm just trying to perfect it. So I'm bringing it to you, other people, and trying to get the mortgage coach community to, at the end of the day, crush the competition. See you later, Danny.
See ya.
All right. So, hey, Todd, I can see your screen again. Thanks for taking over on it. So we're in the last 13 minutes. Todd, if you could plan to close it out, I just want to say a couple thoughts. I mean, my goal, and the reason why I, spend so much time on this income productivity is I want to help the mortgage coach community of loan officers just kill it, achieve all your personal goals personally and professionally. And insane productivity will make you more successful. And it's a combination of a lot of soft skills that are, right now I think probably the biggest challenge for everybody is just less multitasking, less digital dysfunction. Those are some of the biggest takeaways I've gained from being part of this program. Not that I've got it cured. It's funny, I'm at the RPM sales rally in Sonoma County, and a number of loan officers here have gone. Michelle Town is here. She's gone through the program. Bobby Moody, who's usually part of this call, she's going through it. There were a couple people, Todd, that I didn't even know that were from RPM that were going through it. They're like, oh, are you going to be doing the Insane Productivity Mastermind call today? It seems like, the biggest challenge for all of us is just the digital dysfunction and the multitasking. So I don't know how you want to close it out, Todd, and who you want to raise, but I know we also have some new people going through the program for the first time, so it might be good just to see if anybody wants to talk about that a little bit, share a success story or just commensurate on, challenges that we're having. But I'll hand it off to you. I'm just proposing that as a topic if anybody wants to go further on that.
Awesome. No, I think that was great, and I'll kind of close out in a couple of ways. And I would love it if someone who's an existing or a completed, or part, most of the way through Insane Productivity member would raise their hand. I'd love to call on you, and I'd love you just to maybe share a couple of best practices, right? Kind of ways that you made it work for you doing Insane Productivity, because I think one of the things that Dave and I have heard a lot is, oh gosh, you know what, I had a fire with a file on Friday morning, I couldn't be on the call, or oh, this was just a crazy week, I had too many things going on, I couldn't even watch the module. And so if somebody's got, maybe their top 1, 2, or 3 success tips that they're willing to share, I'd love to see a hand go up. I may just pick back up on Scott just because I cut him off early so we could squeeze Danny in. But before I do that, I just want to take a minute and just kind of maybe create some action plans for all of us coming off of Danny's call. So, the one thing that I say over and over again on this call, so I'll say it again for those of you who are new, and I'll apologize to the rest of you, but it's a good reminder, is there is so much talent in the mortgage coach community. And I don't just say that, to pat Dave on the back, but really it is a pat on Dave's back. But there's so much talent who contribute their time and contribute their ideas and contribute examples of what they do for all of us to swipe and adapt, right? Josh Metal posted up a video the other day that he sent out to realtors, when Dave asked for it when he was at Inman, right? Danny just shared what he's using for the move-up analysis. And if you think about this, these are two guys who, between the two of them, did close to 1,500 transactions last year, right? They're not, these guys are the best of the best, and they're giving to this community, giving to you. And so my first action plan always is just take a quick peek, even if you just look at what's been put up there in the last week, there's a couple of actionable ideas. Because if you're thinking, oh my gosh, I heard Scott say he's calling these listing agents and getting together for meetings, and I just don't know what I'm going to say when I get there, you know what? You've got a couple of examples from great members of the mortgage coach community who can absolutely, you can use as an example when you go sit down and meet. Because I think you could just take what Danny rattled off in, whatever it was, 5 or 7 minutes, and you can actually have that meeting one-on-one with an agent. And so when you're on the phone with them, trying to get them to meet you for coffee, and they're like, oh, I've already got the greatest lender. Well, awesome. What's he doing this year to help you get your clients to be move-up buyers? And, again, now you've got a strategy you can bring to them. If they say, no, that's not it, then you can go ahead, you can create a TCA, right? Danny said big idea on it. I love that as the borrower's name. and do a quick video specifically to that person. You could do a generic one, hey, realtors, and you can send it to all of them. Or if there's that big fish you're going after, it could just say, hey, Dave, it's me, Todd. Hey, check out this analysis, and you could walk them through it. Or you could just say, check this analysis out. I'd love to let you know how other of my friends are using this to get their clients to move up. And you know what? Danny's now your friend, so you get to use him as your friend and as your example. Hopefully that's helpful. As far as best practices, I don't see any hands up, and I'm gonna ask for, not for permission, but ask for forgiveness. Since I already had Scott on here, I'm gonna re-unmute you, Scott, and I'm just gonna see if you have a couple of ideas for people. You still there, Scott?
I'm here. Yep.
All right. So can you give us like 2-3 minutes worth of great ideas of how you were able to protect yourself in insane productivity, or big ahas, or what would be good if this was your first call and you had someone like you who's a veteran now? What would you have liked to have heard the first go round that would make it even easier?
What I did is I'm a fairly disciplined person, and I love these calls. I love the sharing, and I love to share with people. So if you give, the more, Darren, all you people are just starting in the same product. You'll find out that Darren says the more you give, the more you get, and it's absolutely true. But more importantly, you just have to carve out, an hour, maybe an hour and a half every week to listen to the module. And if you take Darren's advice, do it in your dead time, when you're driving. I would find that some days would be so busy I wouldn't be able to do it during the day. So 9:30 at night when my kids are studying and they're going to bed, I'm like, okay, I'm going to get on there and I'm going to listen to it because I want to know what the next, the next story is. It was just so motivating and inspiring for me that I was able to, I wanted to do it, so I made the time to do it. And when you invest, I think if you have the mindset that you want to get better, you need to invest in yourself. And not only money, but you got to invest time and block out time to be focused and disciplined and be open-minded to receiving this information. And then what's really helped me is this Friday calls helped me gave me fantastic ideas and further inspiration, motivation to put these concepts and ideas into my work life, into my personal life, and really helped me to focus and leave some old habits behind and create new habits and positive habits. And like the first guy said, leaving behind things that you thought were essential that were not that productive, and now you're doing more productive things. So it's been great. I love it.
I love it.
Thank you.
I love it. So, all right, I don't want to call you out. No, you're welcome. I don't want to call you out, but were there ever weeks that you missed it? You're like, oh crap, I was supposed to do Module 7 and I just didn't get it done?
Yes, there were a couple weeks.
All right.
A couple weeks we missed it, so I typically would do it on. I always come out on Wednesdays, right? So I would try to do it Wednesday night. If I missed it, then I would try to get it done, by the next Wednesday, so I could, So one time I had to do one on Monday night, then I had to do another one on Wednesday night again, start over, so I didn't have the whole week to go through it. And then again, my kids play soccer, so we're driving all over Southern California on Saturday, so I would put the module on with my kids in the car on the way to Orange County, and then make them listen to it. They're like, what is this stuff? And so now it's
your
really
kids are insanely productive too.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's funny because my son, he's in a club basketball team, and then their coach gave him an inspirational talk about toughness last night, and it's this thing called North County Soft in San Diego, and we're all we don't come in North County and San Diego. You don't come from the hood really, so you talked about, hey, you got to be tough, you got to stand for yourself, and my son said, Dad, this is like Darren Daly. You would love this stuff, It was so he, it's you just find the time. If you love it, you find the time to do it.
No, and I love that, and I appreciate your transparency on it. And that's really, I didn't know whether Scott was going to say, yeah, he's nailed it every week, or he hasn't. And either way, it didn't matter to me. What it matters is that most of us are going to miss a week, right? Some people we had on the call last week, if you weren't here, I mean, they had started it last year and then stopped, and now they're trying to restart now. And so don't beat yourself up. And I would just say, as I kind of close it out here, that ultimately, we're happy you're here. In fact, we're thrilled you're here because the more of you that are here, just like when I was talking about the trackers, and telling my team, hey, this is about not just, you, it's about what you can contribute to everyone else. And so, this is definitely the normal play that we have. We're going to bring on some amazing producers like Danny. We're going to bring on people like Michelle when she's on. I mean, these are people doing 100 million, or in Danny's case, I think, 600-700 plus million. I mean, these are crazy producers, and there's a ton to learn. But oftentimes people are disconnected from that. They're like, hey, there's just no way. That guy's got 27 people on his team, and he's been in the business for longer than me, and look at that as an excuse. And so, the more of you we can hear from, whether you're just a one-person show who's been doing this for 3 years, or whether you're a one-person show who's been doing it for 10 years, or whether you've been this veteran like Scott, who's been in for 20 plus years and has a great team, we want to absolutely hear from you and make this all about you guys. And so it's kind of, as we go forward, I think we're going to do a mixture of what we did last year, which is just calling on people, having people raise their hand, and then we're going to continue to teach these new concepts, things that you all can use day in and day out when you are in with your referral partners, when you guys are meeting with your team. I think the things that will be really, really helpful to grow. We're going to continue to talk best practices. We're going to continue to focus in on individual modules, and that's really where you guys are going to have to raise your hand. So if you're in Module 2 and you have a question and you're wondering, hey, let's talk about, your digital addictions, or how did you guys do on the assessment, or, what did you think of the, of the story that Darren told about the crabs? I mean, if you want the conversation to revolve around the part of insane productivity that you're in, you may be the one who has to drive that and raise your hand. And so just keep that in mind as well, because we're always going to be calling on people that we may or may not know where they are, and so that's going to be the different part. So my encouragement from you guys is stick with it. My encouragement to you guys is come on back. Let's be part of this community. My ask is that you raise your hand and you contribute. And even if it's just asking a question, right? All we're going to really want to know is, hey, where are you? What have you liked? And then, what is it that we can help you with? Because then again, if you're stuck in Module 1 and you're just wondering about something to do with, how do I stop using my cell phone in the car, or any of those types of things, we know that we've got dozens of other people on the call who have struggled with that same thing, who've been through it, and maybe have some ideas for you. And then I promise this, we're definitely going to get into some serious, deep discussions where we might start on a topic in the first few minutes that we just don't get off of because so many of you raised your hands, and so we'll see that part. We'll see that part as well. So super excited about everyone being here. Really appreciate it. We're always open for feedback, and I'll let Dave wrap it up for us.
All right. Hey, thanks, Todd. So I am committed to keeping this community within the community. You're all part of the Mortgage Coach community, and this is a special community within that community, Insane Productivity. In terms of Mortgage Coach strategies to crush it in 2017, it's a conversation I think is super important. I just posted a playlist that I literally created. I was inspired to create it from some conversations that I had at this RPM sales rally. So I'm going to add to that. I recommend everybody listens to those 4 videos. They're like 5-minute videos, so it's not a big, it's not more than a 30-minute educational experience. And I just ask you to share what's your favorite Mortgage Coach strategy to crush it in 2017. So I want to keep that going. Also, I would like it if we as a group kind of compared notes for other, kind of live educational experiences. Sales mastery and events like that aren't until later in the year. But if anybody in the sales mastery community is going to a live event, I'd like for us just to start comparing notes. If we've got a bit, like, I wish I would have known. I think there's over 6 Insane Productivity members here at this RPM sales rally. Would have loved to have hosted a little, I'll buy the first drink and let's powwow in person. So if you're on this call and you are going to a live event, let's try to compare notes and create in-person experiences throughout the year. I'll go ahead and wrap it up. Thanks, everybody. Have a fantastic week. And Todd, thank you, as always, for the leadership you bring and how consistent you are at being here and adding value. I'm just incredibly grateful for you, brother.
My pleasure. Everyone have a insanely productive week, and we'll be here same time, same place next week.
All right. See you, everybody.